He is not only hardcore, he could be one of the biggest badasses that I know I personally ever been around. He's, of course, a former WWF, WWE hardcore champion, a tag team champion, an intercontinental champion. He is the one and only, it's in his name, Hardcore Bob Holly. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, thank you for having me, Ian. Hey, first of all, since when did we become good friends?
Well, we were laughing. We laughed.
Okay. I guess that makes us good friends then. No, we'll go with that then. That sounds good. So that means you have to call me and text me every day.
Well, that's the John approach we'll take to the interview process, which we'll go a little inside baseball here. And
okay.
the way that John gets his interviews is some people call him persistent, some people call him
he's very persistent. John's very persistent. He texts me almost every day until I would answer him. And I would purposely ignore him. And then it just gets to the point like, okay, he's not going to give up. He doesn't give up. I will give him that. He does not give up, which that's a good quality to have. Don't ever give up. That's great. That's awesome. And but anyways, he finally did land this interview with me, and it's a pleasure for me to do it for you guys.
Oh, that's great. And just so the listeners know, when we spoke, we were hanging out in New Jersey back in June. As we were leaving, Bob, you shook my hand. You said it was nice to talk to you. It was nice having a good day here in Jersey. But just so you know, when John tries to schedule his interview, I'm going to give him hell. And you did, and you know what? I commend you for sticking to your word.
I did. I kept putting him off. Well, I did have things to do and stuff like that, but I was actually just kind of dangling that carrot in front of him. That's all I was doing.
Oh, that's great. No, it's awesome. It's great. But you know, you're a busy guy. You know, you're always out there in the wild. You're out there doing your thing. So kind of bring the wrestling fan up to speed as to what's been going on in your world while you're, exploring the wilderness, and you're, like I said, you're out there doing your thing out there in the wild.
Yeah, a lot of what I do, people don't know, because I'm a big survivalist. I study survival and study botany, plants and everything, medicinal plants and stuff like that. So I'm into that big time. And I guess you could say I'm one of those kind of prepper kind of guys that, are just waiting for what to hit the fan, and then I'll be ready. I'm prepared. I have everything I need. I have my guns. I have my ammo. I have plenty of food. I have plenty of water. I have everything I need just in case. So, but no, I go into the woods a lot, and I practice all that kind of stuff. Because I think didn't I tell you? I told you in New Jersey at the signing thing that I was trying to get on that show alone. Didn't I tell you that, Ian?
Oh, yeah,
I know I told
me
John.
all about it. No, and I've been looking into it since you said that, just trying to find out more about the show. And even from what you told me and then what I was able to kind of research, I think you'd be obviously a great fit for that show.
Oh, I know, and I know I would. I'm not saying that I'd go in there and kick ass and win the whole thing, because you never know until you're out there what's going to happen, because you're totally by yourself. Like this season on that show, and for the listeners out there, it's Alone on the History Channel. The concept of the show is they have 10 people out there, and you're supposed to outlast the other 9, and you don't know when they quit, and you just got to, you go out there and survive with, and they give you have 10 items of your choice that you want to take with you, and that's all you get. And so I'm a huge fan of that show, and so my goal is to try to get on that show. Hopefully I'll get on it, and right now I'm in the process. I've already got some video done for my audition tape, and I'm going back in the woods again to finish up doing that here in a few weeks. I got some bookings coming up, so I don't really have time right now to finish it. But in a few weeks, I'm planning on going back in the woods and getting all that stuff wrapped up so I can get it get it edited and put together, and so I could send it into the History Channel. And hopefully they'll pick me as one of their cast members for the show.
Oh, yeah. No, we're rooting for you, no doubt with that. But one of the things I got to ask you, and we kind of covered it a little bit, but obviously for the listening audience that wasn't standing between you and I while we were talking, kind of how do you get into the mentality of the survivalist and getting off the grid the way that you do? Like, do you mentally prepare for this, or do you just grab your shit and just get on the road?
No, I just grab my stuff and go. Because I enjoy being out in the woods. There's it's a whole different mindset. It's just like me and my wife go out in the woods a lot. Like, we just got back from Door County up in Wisconsin, and we spent a whole week up there. And let me tell you something. That's some of the most beautiful country you'll ever go into in your entire life. It's so peaceful. The people up there are so kind. It's just really, really relaxing up there, and it's in between Green Bay and Lake Michigan, and it's just awesome. And we were up there for a whole week, and it's just, you just go out there. It's just so peaceful, and it just clears your mind because I don't take my phone with me a lot of places I go. My phone stays at home. So, and most of the time it doesn't work when you're off the grid anyway, so it makes no sense to even bring it. And most of the time I just don't have it with me. Or if I do have it, it's only for, like, if I'm away from my wife, that's the only time I do have it. But if me and my wife are together, my phone literally is not in my hands or around me. So I have no need for it. There's really no need for my phone, but it's just nice to get out there and get away from, because everybody needs to decompress every once in a while, especially like you guys, especially up in the Northeast. You guys are like getting it constantly up there, like you're humping every single day, and it's just that you gotta decompress sometimes, and it's just good for mentally. It's just good for you.
No, you're
like I could spend, and human nature is people need interaction with other people. I mean, it's just human nature. And for me, I have no problem being in the woods by myself. I have no problem at all. So, and like I said, a lot of times my wife goes with me. She enjoys it too, but she doesn't do the extreme stuff that I do. So, and of course we bring our dog, Abby. She comes with us too. She's an Australian Shepherd, so she has to go too. But, so, we get away like that every once in a while, and it's just really enjoyable.
Yeah, and again, like I was about to say, it's a 100% correct statement by you there, saying the Northeast. I always feel like we're always way too connected, and it's the kind of thing, especially with the side real job, quote unquote, that I have. I know other people have. We got to be connected every 2 seconds. Somebody's emailing you, somebody's calling you, somebody's texting you. Yeah. But I told you how much I'm envious.
Now it's right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem.
It's like now everybody has their phone in their hand constantly, and I get it especially because that's your livelihood now. That's a lot of people's livelihoods is their phone, and that's how they operate. And it's like I go into the gym, and people are always fooling with their phones, and I'm like, okay, aren't you supposed to be in here to kind of get away from that and work on getting in better shape and not worrying about your stupid telephone? Because I don't take my phone to the gym. My phone sits on my kitchen table. It does not leave this house when I go to the gym, and I understand it sometimes. But sometimes people are just, because I'll walk by and I'll just happen to glance over somebody's shoulder just to see what the hell if they're doing an email or something, and they're looking at freaking pictures or something, or they're texting somebody, and it's like, why are you even in here? And so it just boggles my mind how people are so addicted to their telephones and social media. It's just but on the other hand, that's their livelihood too. Like you and John, you guys operate off your phones. You do a lot of your business off your phones, emails and stuff to clients and so forth. So and I get that part, but when you are trying to vacation or something like that, and like I'll go to an airport, like if I fly somewhere, I'll see a family and they'll all be on their phones, not talking to each other, not interacting or anything. And I guess if they do want to say something to mom or dad, they'll text them a message and talk to them that way, I guess. I don't know, but it boggles my mind. Even when you go to a restaurant and sitting there, and you'll see these families, and every single family member's on their phone. And the whole point of going out to dinner is to be together and interact, and I guess that doesn't exist anymore.
No, and like I told you, I'm envious of the fact that you could do that, but also one funny thing, too, about our time up there in New Jersey, watching somebody ask you to take a selfie and watching your reaction to them about the selfie, worth the whole entire day alone just to see their reaction. Bob Holly, not a fan of the selfie.
It's not that I'm not a fan. I just don't understand the point of it because, like, okay, I see, like, say, like if you and I are together somewhere and, you know, trying to enjoy a moment or something, and it's like, hey, let's take a picture together. And nobody's around to take the picture. I see it from that aspect. Okay? But these people that stick that phone up in the air and constantly taking pictures of themselves and posting, I don't understand. What are they looking for? They're looking for validation for some reason. Or here's one for you. They're in the gym taking pictures of themselves, and they're constantly posting pictures of themselves working out or posing or something. And it's like, okay, I can get taking one or two pictures and posting them, but every single day posting pictures of what you look like, what are they looking for? They're looking for validation for some reason, or they might have insecurities of the way they look, and they're wanting people to tell them how good they look all the time to make themselves feel better. That's something else I don't understand, because I'm not in the gym taking pictures and posting of myself. You know, I've taken a picture here and there and put it on Twitter of, you know, what I look like now here and there, but not every single day. And I laugh. It makes me laugh. It really does. It makes me laugh. And see the selfie thing, and the reason I don't do selfies, because I'm trying to be different from everybody else, because everybody does selfies. So it's like, I would rather have somebody else take the picture than us do a selfie together. Because it's different, because everybody does the selfies now. So it's like, I want to keep it just me and that person and somebody else taking the picture. I like it like that.
You know, and another thing that I noticed when we were in New Jersey is that there was an issue with somebody in that room, and you didn't let it just sit there. You went directly for it. Most guys would just let it sit, but you went right up to Rene Dupree, and you're like, what's
Why
up,
did you
man?
have to bring that up? Is it even worth it? John, is it even worth their time? Really?
No, probably not. Probably not.
I know why you want to talk about it, because it's good. It's a good story, okay? Because I remember, all right, we'll just briefly touch on this, then we'll move on to something positive. I guess Rene was on your show several months back, and he just went on this rant. Am I correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and he talked about several people, and my name was brought up, and said how if he saw JBL, he was going to beat JBL up, and talked about Bubba Ray Dudley kicking him in the head 20 times. First of all, if Bubba Ray Dudley kicked him in the head 20 times, he would have never got up. So that never happened. I guarantee that. And so Rene was saying how next time he saw me, he was going to beat me up. And so I was like, oh, Renee's here. Sylvan's over there. I love Sylvan, so I wanted to say hi to Sylvan anyway. So I went over there and said hi to Sylvan, and Rene was standing over there, and Sylvan, I can't quite remember what Sylvan said. And so Rene stuck his hand out and shook my hand. And I thought, well, hey, that's cool. And I did ask Rene, I said, hey, what's going on here? Because I thought you and me were cool. I thought we had squashed it. We talked about it, and we got it squared away, and now all of a sudden you still have a problem with me. And then he just said very arrogantly, he goes, well, I opened up this WWE magazine, and I see where you're talking about, you bragging about kicking me in the head. And I don't know why he's stuck on this whole kicking him in the head thing, because he's talking about everybody kicking the head. But anyway, and it's like, I said, Rene, I said, those magazines, I didn't brag about, you show me the magazine where I bragged about kicking you in the head. That didn't happen. Because, first of all, those magazines, they never talk to us to print their story. They just print their stories. And it's like, well, and just like, whatever. And so I said, well, you did say next time you saw me, you were going to beat me up. I said, well, I'm standing right here. So what are you going to do? And he didn't even look at me. He just kind of just had this smug look on his face, and he just filled his chest full of air and tried to bow up. And, Renee's a big boy. He's not small by no means. And I'm definitely not as big as I used to be because I'm not on the gas anymore. I don't need that stuff. But so I asked him again. I said, there's nothing between you and I but air and opportunity. I'm like, I'm here. You can beat me up. Try. And he just turned and walked out of the room. And I said, I thought so. And that was pretty much the end of that. And but that's the whole thing. I don't know why, he's so bitter and upset about everybody, because I've always thought he was a great talent. I've always thought he was a really good heel. And I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed working with him. And like I said before, I thought him and I had talked this whole thing out and got it in the past and everything. And then he's still harboring hard feelings and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, whatever, dude, but you had your chance. I was standing there. You could have whipped my ass, but you chose not to, which was a wise decision. So, anyway, but he's not. It was just all talk, so, and I kind of figured that anyway, so, but that's pretty much the story right there.
Well, I don't think too many guys are going to be wanting to fight you, to be honest. Maybe Ron Simmons or somebody of that ilk, but I don't know about anybody else wanting to get in there and fight you.
Me and Ron are friends, and I will just leave it like that. I'd rather leave it like that.
Well, you said you got to stay on something positive, so I guess I won't mention the new Midnight Express and you guys winning the NWA tag titles. I guess we'll stay away from that.
Why do you want to talk? Everybody knows about that stuff. Let's talk about what you do for a living, John. What do you do? Let me interview you. How about that?
Me, I work for a pharmacy buying group.
You work for a who?
Pharmacy buying group.
The pharmacy buying group. Okay, tell the listeners at home, what does that entail, John?
Well, it's basically you're going to be bored out of your mind with it, so we won't go into that too much.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But we do. I would love to definitely talk about your career and some of the things that really stick out, especially from your time in your 15-year run in the WWF. Now, Ian mentioned former IC champ, but technically you weren't an IC champ. You beat Jarrett, but they took the title back, and then you guys had to redo the match, and Jarrett ends up beating you. So technically, not an Intercontinental champion. Right,
because I guess. Yeah, it was a technical kind of deal. So I never claimed to be Intercontinental champion, never was, and so I never was. Never was.
Okay, I got to sneak in for a second because Bob, I brought this up to you, and the reason I will say whatever I want is because I expressed how big of a Bob Holly fan I was growing up and recalled a story of a house show I was at in 1996 at the Meadowlands. Following a match, the crowd went very silent for like a hair of a second, and I screamed, "You did great, Bob," and you put your hand up in the air and gave me a thumbs up and left the ring, and I shared that story with you. So I will call him Intercontinental Champion. I will call him World Champion because he's Bob Holly, baby. So, and I'll always relive that memory anytime I see you.
Ian, you're the best. John, I like you too. Don't worry. I'll pull you along with him, okay? You can ride the coattails, John.
All right.
And we can also say that you signed a very, very special autograph to me on a picture that is now hanging in my office at work that you said is a very rare and pretty much, I think you might have said it, and forgive me if I'm wrong, maybe I wanted to hear it this way, that you have never signed an autograph the way you did for me that day.
Nope, you're absolutely 100% correct. Because people will have pictures and they will want me to sign it a certain way. And it goes back to my racing days. And I just won't do it. I refuse to. Because that's not who I was. And it's like, and I know everybody had to start somewhere. Everybody had to start somewhere, and it's like the whole Thurman plug days are just, it was one of those deals where I had basically had a choice of either take the gimmick or not fulfill my dream of being in WWE. So I took it, and I just figured, you know what, I'll get my foot in the door and get it moving along and try to get away from it as soon as I could figure out a way to get out of it. And because the thing is, when you're back in the 90, because I came in 94. Was it 94? Yeah, 94. I came in 94. And that's when they had everybody was like a cartoon character type gimmick. And you have to be 100% comfortable playing that character. And if you're not 100% comfortable playing that character, it's going to show through. And I was never comfortable being that character. And when they started the whole hardcore division, I felt more comfortable because I could be more myself in a sense, with the volume turned way, 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 way up. And it was just a lot easier for me to be Hardcore Holly because I loved physicality. I loved the physical part of what we did out there. I loved the hard hitting, and it was like, yeah, I was rough. I was very physical out there, but I also I welcomed it back. I wanted it back. And sometimes if I was out in the ring, I would tell them, hit me harder, kick me harder. And so that's it. I really enjoyed that aspect of it because I've just always been a physical person. Even when I was a kid growing up, I was just very physical in everything I did.
Now, obviously, you're alluding to Thurman Sparky Plug and that whole race car gimmick with the character, and obviously, it's a little bit of a weird name with Thurman Sparky Plug.
It was J.J. Dillon's the one that came up with that name, and for the listeners listening to the show, if they're wondering if I really did race cars, I did race for a long time. I was a track champion and everything. And so, yeah, that was a real gimmick. It wasn't just a gimmick. It was a real gimmick. I really did race cars. So, and I enjoyed racing. I love racing. I still love racing today. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where, and I tell people all the time, because it is a silly name. It's kind of stupid. And I tell people all the time, if your dream is to get in WWE and they give you a silly name, are you going to tell them no? And they always well, yeah, you're right. I wouldn't tell them no. And it's like, yeah, right. Put yourself in my shoes. And they do, and they understand it. They understand it then. Because it is an easy name to make fun of, which I made fun of myself many times with that name too, but it was just a really easy name to make fun of because it was silly. It was. But back then, like I said, everything was cartoon character. And then they started, once the whole Steve Austin era came along, then more talent started becoming themselves more and more. And it was just a lot easier for a lot of guys to portray who they were in the ring that way.
Now, obviously, you had a very long tenure, 15 years in the WWF, and you went through the new generation era, the Attitude Era. Was there any sort of change with Vince as far as how he was and how he was backstage with you guys? Because it seems like a big leap from going kind of from the cartoon corniness to that, like you said, that crazy Attitude Era.
Yeah, you know what? Vince was always, to me, he was always the same. He was just always the man in charge. He had the last say. He knew exactly what everybody was doing at all times, and you didn't do anything unless you had his permission. I mean, you could do stuff, but if you had ideas and stuff and you wanted to try something, you had to run it by him. You just didn't go do something without his knowledge. He's a smart man. He knew what everybody is doing, knows what everybody's doing. And, I'm so far removed from it now, so I don't know how he is today as far as hands-on, but when I was there, he was 100% hands-on. You could not get nothing by him. And he was always good to me. I have no issues with him whatsoever. He always took good care of me. And a lot of people always ask me, how was Vince and stuff like that, and he was great. I thought he was. A lot of people have issues with him, but I never had an issue with him. Would I have liked to become world champion? Yeah, but I never got that far, and that I think a lot of that was on me, not on Vince, because Vince is the one that makes a lot of the decisions. And a lot of people say, well, don't you, kind of hold it against Vince because he didn't let you become world champion? No, because he always took good care of me anyways. I didn't have to become world champion to validate who I am or anything like that. To me, it's you become world champion, and it's like you're being told to be world champion. Yeah. Would it have been nice to become world champion? Yeah, because a lot of money and a lot of responsibility comes with that. But I just never got there, and a lot of that was on me because I think I could have done more to help myself as far as get along further and get higher up. But I felt like my hard work, just working hard and doing what I'm told to do in and out every day was enough, but it wasn't. I could have helped my cause a little bit better by giving more ideas and being very persistent about certain things, and I just wasn't persistent enough. So I just didn't fight hard enough for Hardcore Holly, basically, is what it amounts to. I mean, I worked hard enough to keep my job for 15 years, and I must have done something right because I lasted that long. Which brings me to another point is you see a lot of people hate, a lot. I don't see too much, but it's out there. People hating on me and saying that I was a bully and I took advantage of people and stuff like that. It's like common sense will tell these guys, which common sense is a lost art these days. A lot of people don't have common sense anymore, but common sense will tell you, if I was that as bad as that they think I was, or people say, rumors say I was, I would have never lasted 15 years. Because if you're at a workplace and you're a constant problem to other people, other colleagues that you work with, you're going to get your ass canned in a New York minute. And that wasn't the case with me, because if I was that bad as people claimed that I would have never lasted 15 years in that locker room. I promise you that. I'd have had my ass whipped and thrown out a long time ago. So, but as far as Vince, Vince was great to me.
I feel like that's kind of like the newer generation. Maybe they're a little too soft, because the guys like you and JBL and maybe even Bully Ray to an extent, they're old school. You got that tough guy mentality. It's like, you got to break into the business the right way. Nothing's going to get handed to you. I feel like some of these guys nowadays are a little soft.
Yeah, and it's the way everything is changing. The whole society has become a lot softer. You offend people a lot easier, and the younger generation, they're just, a lot of them don't want to work for anything. They just get everything handed to them, which that's just the way it is now, and there's nothing nobody can do about it.
And obviously, Matt Capitelli, stuff like that, he even said there's no ill will towards you, but, the fans will bring it up like, oh, I can't believe he stiffed that kid.
Oh, I know.
Things like that.
Will. Right, and the thing is, I was just going out there, and I was just doing what I normally do all the time. And see, in Matt's defense, he didn't know me. He didn't know how I wrestled and stuff like that. And I did not mean to kick him and hit him like I did with my boot, because my boot is what got him. And it's just because he was if you watch the film, it's like he was flailing in the corner stuff, and my foot caught him, which accidents happen in wrestling, and I had no intentions of doing that, going in there and doing that to him whatsoever, despite what people at home sit there and think that I did on purpose, that watch in their mind. Al Snow did an interview not too long ago, and he basically threw me under the bus, said I just got in the ring and hauled off and just punched him and cold-cocked him and knocked him completely out cold. If you go back and listen to the interview that Al did on X-Pac 360, he said I hauled off and just cold-cocked him and knocked him out. I did not knock him out. I did not touch him with my fist at all. I gave him a boot to the stomach, and I gave him a few forearms and backed him into the corner. I never punched him in the face, not once. And I don't know where Al got that from, but all of a sudden now Al's telling everybody I cold-cocked him. And it's like, what match was he seeing that I didn't see or something? I don't know. But anyways, and it's just funny. There's so many. You get a different perspective from everybody how it went down. The only two people that really knew how it went down was Matt and myself and the people there watching. And if it was so terribly bad, then why didn't anybody step in to stop it? That's the question I have. If what I was doing was so bad, how come Al didn't step in, Bill DeMott stepped in? Why didn't anybody step in and say, hey, whoa, stop, easy, easy? You know what I'm saying? Nobody did. Nobody did. But in the wrestling business, accidents are going to happen. You're going to get a black eye. You're going to get a bloody lip. Stuff like that happens. As long as you don't knock somebody's teeth out. I didn't knock his teeth out. I didn't break any bones. I gave him a black eye and a bloody lip. And that was a complete accident. It was nothing intentional, and that's just how it is. But yeah, and the thing is people, like when Al was doing his interviews and stuff, he was like, he was talking about it, and it's like, okay, well, because Al was really upset with me about it. And Bill, he was kind of on the fence about it. And it's like, well, why didn't you guys step in and stop me if you guys thought it was so bad? Now, mind you, when I had a cracked vertebrae in my neck, and when I went and did that episode for MTV, I was in a lot of pain myself anyways, and because they sent me to LA to do that first, then I had to go to San Antonio. I stepped in that ring because they told me to. The WWE basically sent me there to get in and be part of that show and wrestle and do what I did or whatever. And I got in the ring with a cracked vertebrae. And then people are going to get upset because I gave Matt a black eye and a bloody lip, when I could have just taken one bump wrong or just moved the wrong way, and I could have been paralyzed just that quick. But yet I still went out and did my job and never complained about it or anything. And it's just funny how to listen to people get upset because somebody got a black eye and a bloody lip. So
I didn't see you crying about Lesnar.
No, I did not at all. Not at all. And then when Kurt Angle broke my arm, I didn't cry about that. So accidents happen in wrestling. That's just the nature of the business. And when people are going to get upset about it, it's like, then why are you even watching it if you're going to get upset if somebody's going to get a black eye? But it's going to be talked about forever. I'm surprised it's still brought up all the time. And it's like, gosh, that was a long-ass time ago. So it's like, geez. But it sucks because when that happened, I could at that time, before social media started really exploding and the internet started really exploding, one of the writers called me at home and said, because I was out for 13 months with my neck surgery, and one of the writers, it was actually Brian Gerwitz that called me, and he said, right now, he said, I wish we could capitalize on you being out, because right now you're the biggest heel that we have because of the whole thing with Matt. And I'm like, oh my God, my timing is horrible. Horrible. But, it is what it is. And like I said, Matt, because when me and Matt, after the whole thing, Matt understood and everything, and, he realized it wasn't intentional, it was a total accident and everything. And like I said, me and Matt are good. We've always been cordial to each other, and we even worked with each other for a while after that. So I don't know why people still get upset about it. It just makes me laugh. So
that's a new generation of fans for you. I think they're getting a little bit soft. This is not like the old days where, you want guys to stiff each other. They're a little bit more gymnastic-oriented now, a little bit more high-flying.
Yeah.
The hard-hitting days are somewhat behind us, unfortunately.
Right. And see, with me, the way I like to work is I like my stuff to be as believable as possible without being real. And that's why I am rough, but I don't hurt anybody at the same time, because I have never hurt anybody to the point where they've had to miss any work whatsoever because I was so rough. I've always taken care of everybody I worked with, and so I don't know where this whole thing is that I always took privileges with people and stuff like that. I don't know where that just somebody thinking that I'm just too rough or whatever, but But see, the thing is, I welcome it back. I like people to be rough back with me, because the thing is, in the wrestling world, if I hit you hard, you're allowed to hit me just as hard. And that's just the way, it's a gentleman's agreement. That's just the way it works. And because it's not right if I was rough with somebody, really rough, and then they got rough back with me, and then I got pissed off because they were too rough with me. It doesn't work like that. And it's like, if I'm rough with somebody, they have all the right to be rough back with me and work with me the way I work with them. And that's what I like. I welcome that. And so, but it's because I want like I said, I want everything to be as believable as possible without being real. And I've always taken care of everybody. If you think back, John, there's not one person that I have ever worked with that has been put on the shelf because of me. I've always taken care of everybody that I've worked with. And two, if I was hurting guys, Vince would have fired me a long time ago. So I wouldn't have lasted as long as I did. So.
Absolutely. It's all about looking real and taking care of the other guy, but not actually really, hurting them, as far as like what happened. Obviously, Angle was more of an accident, but kind of Lesnar being a little bit reckless or a little bit careless.
No, he wasn't. It was one of those things where, and see, that's how shit gets started right there, what you just said. How do you know he was being reckless? How do you know that?
Well, yeah, true. I don't know for sure.
Right, and that's how shit gets to people just like that. Say, oh, he was reckless or he doesn't take care of something. That wasn't the way it was at all, John. It was, our timing was off on the whole thing, because when he went up because the whole move that was supposed to take place was he was supposed to go for a power bomb. I was going to flip up, land on my feet. He was going to charge me, or he was going to go throw a clothesline. I was going to duck, hold on. I land on my feet. He goes to run at me and throw a clothesline. He comes back, hits the ropes, and I drop kick him. Because if you go back and watch it, we do the move again to where I drop kick him. And our timing was off because I thought he was getting ready to pull me up, so I started to kind of lift up. And as I was lifting up, as I lifted up, thinking he was going, he didn't go, so my body weight came back down. As it was coming back down, he went to lift up. And so as he picked me up, I tried to reach to grab the back of his head, and I couldn't get the back of his head. So, and he was trying to hold me the best he could, and he just ended up, he didn't drop me. He was holding on to me the whole time. It's just the way I landed. I tucked my head, and it just jackknifed me. And but that's exactly what happened, because he felt horrible about it, because he came back in the locker room. He was really upset about it because he thought he'd really hurt me bad. And I told him, I was like, I'm fine. Because I know he didn't do it. Because I said, because Johnny kind of got on him a little bit about it. And started yelling. I told Johnny, I was like, no, I said, Johnny, leave him alone. I said, he didn't do it on purpose. He goes, I know, he can't be hurting guys, though. And it's like, he didn't do it on purpose. My God, what part of that don't you understand? And then Johnny finally went out of the locker room, and but I told Brian, I was like, don't worry about it, man. Shit happens. The accidents happen. So, but and he even called me in my hospital when after my surgery. He called me, check on me. He called me at home and checked on me and stuff like that. So, there was never no intentions on either parties of what happened. You know, it's just an accident. Shit happens in wrestling. Accidents happen.
Right. Probably poorly worded. I mean, it's reckless. More like it was just like it was more like an accident, but it did lead to obviously 13 months off. But when you came back, it kind of was a cool little story that you got a title shot against Lesnar. It was almost like it was a cool little build-up that you're getting that title shot after being out that extended period of time.
Yeah, it was, and I was kind of disappointed it was over. When it was over. You know, we didn't get. I thought they were going to just kind of do more with it, but they didn't, and that's wrestling business. That's the way it goes, you know. And wrestling is full of ups and downs. It's a wave of emotions, and if you don't understand the wave of emotions, then you don't need to be in the wrestling business, because there's going to be a lot of disappointment along the way. You're not always going to get what you want, and that's just the way it is. And I was just, you know, I was making good money anyway, so it didn't matter to me. And plus, the whole time I was out, Vince took good care of me anyway. So I was being paid as if I was still working. So, you know, I didn't lose out on nothing. I lost out on TV time, and that's a big deal. But as far as my pay, I got paid every week as if I was still working. So Vince paid all my hospital bills, everything. Not one dime came out of my pocket.
Which is great on WWF's part and Vince for sure.
It's like whoever I work with, I don't change. If I work with each person the same. I work with Ron Simmons the same. I work with Bradshaw the same. I treat those guys just like I treat the next guy. And if you don't believe me, watch some of my matches. Watch me slap the piss out of Ron and John one night down there at ringside. If you got the network or whatever, you could find it. I slapped the ever living dog piss out of both of them, and I don't change. Whoever I work with, I work the same the whole way, and that's just always the way I've worked. And like again, I welcome it too. That's just how I am. But anyway, and I give my opinions about certain people, but I also tell the positives about them too. You know, if there's a person I don't have too many feelings for or don't care for too well, I talk about that. But I also put them over because most of those guys in WWE are really good. And I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, they sucked and this and that, just because I didn't care for them. You know, I may not care for somebody, but yet they're still very talented and very good.
Just picture me now as the executive for Alone, and I've got you in front of me, and I'm going to sit there and look you straight in the face, deadpan, and say, why should Bob Holly be on Alone?
Because I'm a survivor. And because the thing is, I've got some good, entertaining stories to tell, and it would just be very interesting having me on that show. Just trust me. It would be very interesting, because if I tell you what I'm going to do and why, then you'll already know. Because I want everybody to tune in. Because I promise you, because some of the guys you watch on Alone right now, it's just kind of humdrum, and it's like, okay, let's move on to the next guy. Because the whole concept of the show is they give you all this video equipment, and you have to video yourself the whole time that you're out there. So you're constantly dragging camera equipment around, and you've got to constantly video yourself. Because and when they go into post, that's how they put the show together, and they get all the video and put everything together and try to get the best scenes and everything and best stories and stuff like that. Because I honestly think that the whole wrestling world would tune in, whether they like me or not. They would tune in to see if I survived or if I would fail. So, and I can't guarantee I'm not going to fail, but that's the chance I want to take. But I know I can do it, but I don't know. But you just don't know. Anything can happen out there. That's the thing. That's the beauty of it. Anything can happen. And there's bears out there. There's mountain lions. You have all kind of predators, wild boars, everything. So your back's against the wall when you're out there by yourself, and you don't have any firearms or anything. So, but yeah, it would be very interesting TV, I promise you, if I get on that show.
And
because, like I said, the whole concept is you have to constantly video yourself 24 hours a day, I guess, except when you're sleeping. But, yeah, as soon as you wake up, you got to turn that camera on and start filming yourself doing things, surviving, fishing, foraging your food, making traps, building your fire, building your shelter. Main thing is just trying to get food. That's the main thing. And see, as a person that works out all the time, and I shave my legs, shave my arms, I shave my chest, shave my face, I'd probably come out of there looking like a bear, a hairy bear. So it'd be interesting to see the transition from the first day I'm there, and if I happen to be there 30, 40, 50 days in, to see what I look like the 50th day. Probably be called the Incredible Shrinking Max. Because, see, what I would probably do is, I know what I would do is I would make weights out there. I would carve me some weights I'd chop trees down and do the best I could to make a gym in the forest some way, somehow, so that way I could sustain some sort of muscle mass in any possible way I can. Because obviously you're not going to be able to work out there or do anything. So I would be working out there, and it would be pretty damn entertaining, I'm sure. So.
But hang on, you didn't let me finish what I was saying. As an executive for Alone, I've now thrown a wrinkle into the competition, and that is there is one current WWE executive who used to be a wrestler on the roster who is hidden somewhere in the woods, and you have to find him. Do you think you'll be able to find him by one characteristic trait on his face?
You give me a compass, and I'll find anybody. I'll find him. I promise I'll find him. Because first of all, he's got to come out because, number one, he's going to starve. So, I'll find him. Trust me, because if this executive gets dropped in the woods, obviously he doesn't know his way around, so he's going to be lost and scared. And he's going to be looking for companionship.
I think we dropped him on the set of Naked and Afraid rather than the set of Alone. They can have Naked and Afraid. How about you, Ian? How about we put you out there and let me try to find you? All you got to do is find the closest tree. I'll be on the highest limb I could get to. So if you can get to me up there and you can save, I will jump down into your arms like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy, and you can get me out of there.
And you know what I would do with you? I'd use you as bear bait.
But I was the biggest Bob Holly fan in '96. What happened?
I got to eat.
God. Yes,
I got to eat.
You do, but
Cannibalism.
What can you say? Feast or famine, I get it. But, Bob, obviously this has been awesome.
Thanks, John, for having me on your show. I appreciate it. And, John, if you need anything, just let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I promise.
Oh, yeah, sure.